Right, what we're looking at here is a sump from an inboard boat engine. Mercruiser is the kind of inboard division of Mercury outboards. And this is here because it's had a bit of an incident. As you can see, it had a couple of rods let go, and they've punched some nice big holes in the bottom and the sides. So yeah, can we fix it? Well, we can try. It's not going to be easy. At least the inside is fairly clean. I'm not quite sure how they cleaned it all, but inside looks okay. Typical cast aluminium brakes. You know, they always look really, really grainy. And I have heard that Mercury castings are not great. I've actually tried welding a Mercury engine block before, but that was a 1960s outboard, and that was terrible. It was really awful. Hopefully this won't be quite as bad, but yeah, we shall see. You can see how that's missing. The table that it's sitting on, it almost blends into the colour of the alley here, but that's, yeah, big hole there, as you can see, and some quite serious cracks, and that's still cracked down here. I think we may end up breaking this right out. It's also distorted a bit where the rods have poked through here. This is sitting on our old surface table that we use for welding, but it's a pretty reasonable indicator of flatness. And this is, as I say, it's kind of distorted. Yeah, maybe not too bad, but that's, yeah, you can see a gap underneath that front bit. I think the ideal way of doing it would be if it was bolted back to the block before it was all welded back together, but that's not an option. I think the block has already been a way to be, I don't know, rebored or lined or something. And I think the engine is on its way to being rebuilt, and the last thing they're going to need is to have this sump to put back on it. But I'm told that there's big fat squishy gaskets going all the way around everything, so those combined with copious amounts of gasket sealant should hopefully cope with any mating surfaces which are not quite flat or in quite the right place. But we've also got to watch that these holes line up with the appropriate ones on the block. They're going to have to stretch them if they don't line up, but yeah. First stage is going to be to get the paint off of it. So we'll do that and then come back and have a look. That might reveal more cracks underneath. We've got a bag of bits that broke out. So bit of a 3D jigsaw puzzle. Actually fairly straightforward to see where these go. And as per usual with broken castings, they don't go back in where they came out of. They don't fit. But we're going to have to do so much grinding back all the way around here to prepare it for welding anyway. So that bit in there. I think we've got that bit goes in there or came out of there. Kind of a thing. Well, that went there. So there's a bit missing. There are bits that have just gone. Piece in there, piece there, and then we've just got a little bit that went round the other sides. Oh, where did that go? Huh. About there. So yeah, we're going to have to find something to fill that hole in, find something to replace this. That bit is not really doing us much good, I don't think. We might just as well go straight across there with a new bit, I reckon. But yeah, let's get the paint off it first. Tough bit of powder coating, great. Oh. Heck, this is getting hot. Clean and strip disc does a pretty good job, I think. So these things are getting warm. And I want the paint off of here all over, not just around where the weld's going to go, because this is going to get stinking hot when it's welded. Rather not have the fumes from the paint coming off. Paint, powder coating, whatever it is. A little bit of work left on this, I think. Actually, no, that's pretty much done. Yeah. Right, all this cleaned up here, and got the front clamped down to the table, and astonishingly, even with somebody standing on the top, there is still a gap underneath here. A pair of boots in view. Do you want to jump off, Joel? See how, well, hang on, let's have a look, see how this moves when you step off of it. That's crazy how strong that is. I think I might end up cutting this right through somewhere. Some of this has got to be ground out anyway. Don't know, cut this right across and see if this bit will straighten up. Wow. just tried to tap this back in. Well, I've tapped it in, but cracked it across here, so that is now another separate piece which is going to have to be completely welded back. There's a lot of distortion in this. This is still bent out a long way, and this is bent out here. This is bent outwards. We're going to have to put some heat on this and try and bend it back. This casting is actually quite strong. I've noticed when I've been grinding this back with a carbide burr in the die grinder, quite often aluminium is a bit soft and cloggy. It clogs up your cutters, but this has been cutting really clean. It's quite hard, but yeah, it's therefore quite springy. This is not going to bend back without some heat applied. Yeah, and even then, I'm not sure how well we'll be able to shape this back to where it needs to be. We'll see. Such a difference between the bit that's broken and the bit I've just run over with the die grinder. That is really machining quite nice, whereas this is typical. Focus camera, yeah. Typical broken casting, grainy, grey, horrible. We'll flip this bit around, do the other side, and carry on with similar vein to the rest of the pieces. Right, I think that's all the edges prepped, pretty much. And these pieces that are broken out, I've got to try and put them back in. Base. Bit of a mess. I've already swept up once. Well, yeah, it's part of the course really with this sort of job. So next step, I think I'm going to try and put some heat into this and see if I can straighten it out a bit. That is, yeah, that's not meant to be that shape. That's kind of been pushed out. So I need to be able to heat this up and push this back down. I thought I'd try and get the base flange on this stump flat, and putting it up the other way on the table, could see that these points were high. So I've started to to try and find them. It looked like this had just kind of, yeah, been distorted, but I thought I'd put a straight edge across, and just there's pretty good. But if we bring this forward, can we see that gap there? Gap here and a gap here. So where the rods have punched the bottom out of the sump, well, they've tried to push it off the engine first and bent this flange up on both sides. Oh, I don't know whether to just try and grind this flat, put some heat on it and try and knock it back down again. We can see it this way as well. That's not too bad. Bring this out towards the edge, and there's a gap there. So with a bit of grinding, bit of filing, I think this is not so bad now. A bit more level. Right, so I've just tacked these two pieces together, so it's a little bit easier to sort of balance the two of them once they're fixed as one piece in the hole. Tacked it in a few places, run a weld along here because that seems to be quite well lined up. I will probably do across the top here, and this edge doesn't quite match, but if I fix the top, then I can knock this down or up, whatever way it needs to go, so that it's kind of level, and we take it from there. And this is looking like a reasonable match along here. So I think that's going to be the next thing. I'll tell you what, it's handy having these bits missing. You can actually get the torch in through here to weld the inside.